Meeting to order. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes of May 22nd? Do I hear a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes of May 27th.
Any second?
Second.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, do we have any monitors' reports? No. Do we have any applications for certificates of non-applicability?
Yeah, three.
Three, okay, let's hear about it.
Maurice May, 1878 Main Road, shingles on the south facade. Bolter, 1945 Main Road, shingles on the roof. And Moriarty, 1935 Main Road, chimney down, copper through the pan, and chimney rebuilt, like for like. I have no idea what that means in English, but.
On the chimney, I'm especially concerned about that one. Are they reusing the existing brick? What does like for like mean? Well, does it say?
It doesn't say.
I think we need a little more detail on that one, because if they're using a different, often you can't match the old bricks. I don't know what they're doing.
I will ask
I think they have to come before the commission
Is that right?
to take down the chimney.
and rebuild it. I mean, I would say
Because-
they should make
because-
that decision.
Yeah, maybe that's.
It's too sensitive an issue,
Well, they haven't started,
because people can say like for like, and you don't know what it's going to end up looking.
except it's gonna be a good job.
It will be a good job.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it.
Very deep pockets. All right, so it should be a certificate of,
Appropriateness.
okay.
Okay. Okay, we still got a couple of minutes. Garrett has asked that we propose the following motion. The Historical Commission authorizes the use of funds of the Westport Historical Commission Trust Fund to pay the following expenses to the extent that they exceed the remaining balance in the Historical Commission account for fiscal year '23. $206.25 to Robert Barbosa for his invoice dated June 7, 2023. $184.50 to East Bay Media Group for their invoice dated May 18, 2023. Any expenses for the services of Robert Barbosa and/or East Bay Media Group invoice between June 8 and June 30, 2023. Do I hear somebody make that motion?
I move we accept.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, good. And that's that.
Could I have a copy of that, please?
Yes, why don't you got the exact language. Do we have any new business?
I think the issue of solar panels.
Solar panels, well, we've got a subcommittee working on it.
However, I've gotten 2 requests since our last meeting.
Okay, well, I advise you to speak with the subcommittee and see where we are.
We shall do that.
Okay, good.
That's the royal we.
That's the royal we. Good, I like that. Okay, I think we're ready for our first item of business, which is 2040 Main Road.
Can we reverse the order, please, and do 2038 first? Because that's what I've got pinned up.
Okay, 2038 Main Road. I assume nobody's going to be showing up 5 minutes late. In other words, nobody's going to be showing up in 5 minutes expecting to talk about that. I assume everybody who's going to be here on that item is here already. Is that correct? More or less?
Betty Slade was supposed to come, but she has to go to the select board first.
So maybe, let's do 2040. Let's do 2040 just because I don't want to trip over any legal technicality here. Okay.
So as a reminder, well, for the record, I'm Christopher Wise, architect for this project. project.
Mhm.
As a reminder to those who weren't here last time, this is an existing cottage behind 2038 Main Road.
Right.
And it's an antique house that has been much altered over the years. It has pretty much its original north-facing facade, which is
The
this.
top one, yeah.
And where the south-facing facade has these are 18th century windows, plank frame. The south-facing facade has existing mid-19th
Replacement
century
windows.
replacement windows.
Right.
The east-facing facade, the west-facing facade has a door and one window here and one window here. We're proposing some change to that. And the east elevation was the principal subject of discussion.
Mhm.
In the previous proposal, we were showing dormers on both sides of this. We've taken those off. They're off the table.
Okay.
So, just to review for everyone, and the other significant thing is we propose to jack the building up 1 foot, which seems a reasonable amount to do, just to get a little farther away from the floodplain. And we will reproduce the stone foundation for that additional foot. On the north elevation, it'll all be restored. The existing plank windows will be repaired and restored and have new storm windows put on them. The existing door will be treated likewise. We'll use white cedar shingles on the wall and red cedar shingles on the roof of the whole building. On the west elevation, we'll restore this door. We'll restore this existing plank frame window, and we will put in 2 new replica plank frame windows to be consistent with the rest of the elevation. On the south-facing elevation, we will take out the existing wood double-hung windows and put in modern aluminum-clad double-hung windows, much like the windows that have been approved elsewhere in the district.
Wait, did you say aluminum clad?
Aluminum-clad, yes.
Okay.
Those have been approved all over the district.
Yeah, but you said this was a restoration of this house, and if it was a restoration of this house,
Well,
I wouldn't look at it as being something appropriate.
the commission has allowed windows like this on existing.
That doesn't matter, Kit. We're not talking about whether they've been allowed on additions or anything else. We're talking about a
Well,
very,
what kind of window would be acceptable to you?
well, you're putting a great deal of effort to recreate the look of the 18th century window with the plank frames. I think that would be acceptable. The antique sash
Well,
replica, and
But this house also has a history of the changes that have been made to it over the years, and can we not respect what was done in the middle of the 19th century?
well, I don't believe in that philosophy. I know that the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities and the National Park Service and all that, but I personally don't believe that if you have a 1950s window in a house that is as beautiful as this is, that you should keep a 1950s window, and that's what you're saying.
No, I have more respect for a 19th century window than I do for a 1950s window.
Okay.
So, anyway, that's what we're proposing.
You're not changing the fenestration.
This window is actually slightly over in this direction,
Mhm.
but we've regularized it.
But you wouldn't look inside and try to determine what the original fenestration was, would you?
We have not done that.
Okay.
There was a door on this side at one point. There's photographic evidence of that.
It was
I
replaced in the
mean-
1960s.
I mean framing evidence inside, you can
No,
tell.
we have not looked at that.
Okay. If you do find evidence, would you replicate what was there then, originally in the 18th century?
Not necessarily. Moving on to the east elevation, which was the subject of the most controversy in the last discussion. We had proposed a 4-panel French door and 2 19th century style windows flanking it on either side, and restoration of the existing frame window up here. We have shown 2 other possible alternates to that elevation. One, and this was a suggestion that was made, was that there'd be one door off to the side, much as this door is off to the side on the west elevation, and 4 windows to enhance the view to the harbor, and still restoring the existing window up here. This is another possible alternative, which would be to reduce the 4-panel door to a 3-panel door with replica windows on either side. And those proposals could be possibly mixed and matched. It might be, one might argue that if I'm doing replica plank frame windows here, that it would be appropriate to put them there, following your logic.
Right.
And
And also to try to research the original fenestration.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if we find evidence of that, once demolition comes, we could go back to the monitors and get an approval for a slight revision of the window placement.
Thank you. I do have one letter with respect to this. It's from John Long, Perry Long, and Patrick Long, who are abutters. And they say, we, John Long, Perry Long, and Patrick Long, neighbors and abutters of 2040 Main Road, are writing to express our support for the intended property improvement project. Having interacted with our new neighbors, we have found them to be kind, considerate, and deeply appreciative of the character and charm of our shared community. We believe in fostering positive relationships among neighbors and are enthusiastic about welcoming them as valued members of our neighborhood. We acknowledge our neighbors' commitment to enhancing the 2040 Main Road property while being mindful of the historical significance of the Westport Historic District. We trust that they will approach the project with care and consideration, ensuring that any improvements made will harmonize with the existing aesthetics and contribute positively to the overall ambience of our neighborhood. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We kindly request the Westport Historic Commission to consider our letter as an expression of support for the 2040 Main Road Property Improvement Project. Now, do we have comments from any other abutters or others on this proposal?
I happened to be in my backyard today cutting peonies, and I noticed on the east, I'm not good at north-south.
The east faces the bridge, the west is the road.
North?
North is facing you, north is facing
Not
you.
north side that faces me. I noticed that the windows, currently, the existing windows, are 6/9s, and they really look beautiful on that little cottage. They really look perfect. So this one, it appears to be 6/6.
No, they're 6 over, they're 6 over, these are all bonus. Well, these.
You're gonna use the existing windows, so whatever they are, they will continue to be.
These are shown as 6/9s.
Yeah.
They are,
All the
okay.
existing plank frame windows and the reproduction plank frame windows would be 6/9s.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, all the existing plank frame windows, particularly on the north elevation, are 6/9.
Okay,
And any reproduction plank frame window that we might put in would also be 6/9.
okay, good.
These windows on the south elevation are currently 6/6, which is the mid-19th century style window. And at the moment, we're proposing to do windows in that form. I think we could certainly consider, if it would help the proposal, making those windows on the south side to be reproduction plank frame windows. While I see my client there agreeing with that.
Yeah, that's fine with us.
So if we can imagine that these are now reproduction plank frame windows, 6/9, with storm windows on them instead of this proposal, that would solve the problem that Mr. Kendall has. It's acceptable to the clients. So the only remaining question would be this east elevation.
East elevation.
And I would propose that if, again, we do all these windows as reproduction plank frame windows, 6/9, but have a large opening, glazed opening to improve the view to the harbor. And we have lots of evidence of how often this is done on the harbor-facing facades of buildings all up and down the point.
What is it currently?
Currently, again, I didn't bring the originals. but
Oh,
you have
I've got
you
it,
have
I've
in
got
the
it
file.
here somewhere.
I have one.
There's a lot of paper here.
I think it's a single window, yes.
It's a single window up in the middle at the top, and then the left hand is there also.
And
A window on the left.
this one here, so this one.
Yeah, okay, yes.
This is it?
See here's what it is. Take a look, right there. Yes.
I love the fact that you're gonna take and make plank windows on those other ones and all the ones.
On the
that-
south side, yeah.
And on the east side
And-
of those
yeah,
two.
yeah.
I think that's great. I think it's fantastic. Of those three, by far, I like the lower right-hand corner one. I think that's
That one
very-
there. Uh-huh.
Very, yeah, I like that one on the lower right.
Is there a
Of the
door?
other ones. I think the
That's, yes,
others,
that's a French door. It's-
I think
it's-
that's
yeah.
doors.
Yeah, with,
that's a
it's-
single door with two doors.
with
on
flanking,
the side.
with flanking,
Yeah,
with
yes,
flanking,
yeah,
right,
flanking fixed.
I
windows.
mean,
You mean
take,
the
let me
one in the
finish.
middle?
Let me finish.
Sorry.
The one with the four, I think is just too much.
Uh-huh.
The one on the, to the right of that, with those little short windows, and then the door to the left just looks odd.
Yeah.
It just really looks odd to me. And, but I like the symmetry of the one down on the lower right-hand corner.
Well, that solution would be acceptable to us.
All right. Do we
I
have,
think on the original application, you were removing the chimney.
Yes, thank you for pointing that. The
Is the chimney back?
The chimney is back.
Been back for the last,
Yeah, yes.
Nobody told us.
Yeah.
well, yeah, you know, it was mentioned last time.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned adding a deck.
Yes, there is still a deck to the, and it would be still in this configuration on
On the east side.
the east side. No railing, it's just a couple of steps down, so it would be,
And how far does it go out?
it goes out about 10 feet.
That's big. 10 feet out and how wide?
I'm guessing about 14 feet wide.
How far off the ground is the decking?
The decking will be the decking will be 3 risers off the ground, which is about 22 inches.
You're not gonna be, by code, you're not gonna have to have rail?
You don't have to have a railing for anything under
30 inches.
30 inches.
You just make it, okay?
Yeah. Well, it'll have steps all around it, so.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So if you see, the steps would be all around, so you can walk off in any direction.
So, Vic, just to clarify in my own mind, so you have those steps coming off on all 3 sides,
Yeah.
but then you also have the land
Yeah, and then the land.
sloping down.
The land.
So you built up the land around it to get up to that
Yes.
level.
Yes, so the grade will be dropping off a little bit along here. And we'll grade it so that the grade is pretty much consistent around a line like that.
Will that require a retaining wall?
No,
Okay.
How wide is it? It's 10 by what?
well, let's call it 10 by
14.
Aren't the dimensions supposed to be on the drawing
Should be.
for you?
Yeah,
It's an accurate scalable drawing.
You don't have one of your little measuring things with you?
I do.
You guys always have them.
All right, you know what, let's let's just write the dimensions in.
All right.
We can do that.
I will do that. 14 feet.
So in the meantime, I have to disagree with my esteemed neighbor here. I think the 4 short windows is more appropriate to the district, and I would have to disagree with Kit also that I don't think you see on the facade of the actual historic building French doors like that.
Okay,
So that's just my opinion. Of course, it's, the decision is yours.
yes?
Suzanne Carter Peck, 2041 Main Road. If we're looking at the lower right-hand drawing, and I'm on the bridge, is that correct? I would be on the bridge.
Yeah,
And there is a deck. I'm going to see something that's very different from the bridge, from what I see now. And I know that that has been important to the committee in the past. So I just raised that as a concern.
thank you.
If I can answer that.
Sure.
I mean, many alterations within the district look different from what's presently there. The real question is, are they appropriate, and are they not incongruous with the rest of the district and the surrounding? And I've tried to keep this deck at an absolute, I mean, we could build a retaining wall and a terrace out there, which I think would not be within the purview of the commission. But
Mhm.
this is,
Mhm.
Could you do a stone wall, you know, similar, I mean, I think I talked to you about this before, I don't know where that stands now, I haven't had a chance to talk to you all.
A stone what?
But
Stone
a stone wall,
That's
when
what
I,
we're saying.
Yeah.
when I did mine, and I put my septic system there, instead of just having this bump, you know,
Yeah.
of ground, because that's so odd in this terrain, I built a stone wall with steps, you know, on it, so it looked
Mhm.
very neat and terrace-like.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering if you've considered that, to put a stone wall, and then you can take your wood terrace and probably just have it as a one-step off or something like that. But on this grassy area, or you can even pave it with stone or whatever you want to do. But
We did consider that.
Yeah.
We had submitted the elevation plan, our civil engineer, Eric Chavanish, and he suggested that if we put a stone wall in, you're not gonna let it look in the river, because it would be too high. So he graded the entire east facing side of the house so that it looked natural. So you wouldn't have a stone wall, a retaining wall. It was a
Although
nice thing.
what's there now is a stone foundation that's
Right.
half a story high. I mean,
Right.
it's, so it's
Yeah.
comparable to a stone wall in some ways.
He thought it would drop off several feet.
Okay, yeah.
I was thinking that there's some place in between where you can, you know, you're gonna do some grading anyways down there, probably a good idea, and then have a terrace and then, you know, stone, and then have your deck. Try to minimize
I'm not
everything.
married to the deck, but if we can get approval for the deck, I can
Yeah.
assure you, we will look at the most aesthetically beautiful solution possible, and we'll be completely reasonable about that.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't.
But I don't want to have to come back
Yeah,
for approval.
it doesn't concern this group, just out of curiosity, and maybe some thought is, you're in a floodplain, and if you grade too much, you're filling in a floodplain, which I don't know if it's allowing it. So you
I'm
just
not
gotta-
a civil engineer, but we hired one.
You just gotta look at
He's
that.
well known here, he lives and understands every inch of Westport Point.
Yeah,
That's why we hired Sean Leach to do this, and pretty comfortable that what he's proposed is a very well conceived plan.
okay.
Now, am I hearing any comments from the commission members, or questions, or thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, you know, I aesthetically, I like them, I agree with Jack, the three windows, door windows, whatever they are. But it's not, you know, it's not appropriate historically.
I don't have any queries of that.
Yes.
It looks good.
Just a question, have you decided whether you're gonna have a full basement or not?
we have not.
But, so I guess if you are, my question is, where are you gonna get access to that? You gonna have a bulkhead somewhere? I mean, you have to accommodate for that.
Well, I see my ledge, you know, he said he's not interested in having a basement or anything, so.
So you'll,
Well, basement, but
We'll
we
have a hatch. in the
don't need a
front.
bulkhead.
Okay.
We'll have a hatch in the
I
front.
just was bringing that up because that'll interfere with your,
Yeah, no,
decks and
no,
everything
no, no.
else.
It's the existing. The only comment I have is looking at the original existing east elevation, and this is responding to the woman who said that she sees the stone from the water, that it would be nice to have stone, to just have a nod to that stone. If you do a deck that has some sort of stone element, I think that would be better. Also, that last one is not asymmetrical, whereas the one, I guess it would be the second proposed one, the 3 and the 1, that asymmetrical design is more, I think, in keeping with the original asymmetrical design. If you're gonna do asymmetrical, this is a nod to that plan. And that's just my opinion. So I disagree with Jeff on,
Yeah, my
Which
response-
plan
I mean,
might
that's-
be
that-
more-
that- Those are valid observations. My response to that is that if we tried to do this, and we were going to be consistent with the plank frame 6/9 windows,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't gang those together.
No.
like that. It was never done in the 18th
you'd have to
century.
change the fenestration.
You'd have to change the fenestration, and really, you know, we're trying to enhance the view to the river, as many people up and down the point have done, with French doors and banks of windows. We have numerous examples of how.
Can we see those?
Yeah.
Yes, you certainly
That
may.
would be useful.
What if you did something like
A lot of use of that.
single door, 2 windows here, and a single door, instead of the bank of windows?
That's a
The ba-
total-
It's the bank of windows that bothers me. You never see a bank of windows in old houses like that. And I don't want to get the feeling that this is, you know, a single 30 by 30 square room, whatever it is, and now all of a sudden it's going to become like a big house or, you know, much more complicated. You know, I'd like to know that it's going to stay, the purpose is going to stay what it is, kind of, which is just,
Yeah, it's a small guest cottage, is
Yeah.
what it is. And its form is completely unchanged.
So
And
what about
we're-
doing-
We're simply proposing an east elevation
That's
that's
one.
consistent and congruent with east elevations, east and west elevations all up and down.
but we're talking this specific little cottage, and what would be appropriate for that? I know, we can bring in all the pictures, you know, that there are, and we didn't approve them, you know, they got approved because the commission was in arrears when it was just a mess at very many points during its history, and people got away with murder, you know, but that doesn't mean that we're not still trying to preserve what it is, maybe with more intensity, more ferocity, because it's hard,
Well, you know.
because everybody
his-
comes with these, you know.
Historic districting is one of its intents is to allow people to make modifications to existing buildings for modern purposes and modern uses without infringing on the historic quality of the district. And I maintain that this does not, this solution right here does not infringe on the quality of the historic district.
I think that what you're doing is preserving this wonderful building. The north elevation is preserved as it was in the 18th century. The west elevation is also preserved and moderately preserved on the south elevation. I think that that is very good. I think that we also have to be practical in thinking how the building's going to be used. And what the window arrangement that Jeff has pointed out, I think would be the ideal solution.
The 3 French door, the lower right-hand corner.
Right there, yeah.
I'm in agreement with that, personally.
I mean, I think we have to be
I mean,
practical.
and if we're doing 6/9 with all the replacement windows, I think that's,
And the view of the river, the whole thing, you know.
yeah. But it's up. We have any more comments before we?
Can we see those before you vote?
You want to look at these, sure.
When you're,
1991, where is this?
It's on the west side of the river, just at the end. It's
Well, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept with making sure that that is the, if we can somehow circle that or something, so we know that that's being done.
I'll just cross, well, we're getting rid of that one, getting rid of that one, and
Changing the windows there, yeah.
this to
6 overhead.
Yeah.
blank. 6 over.
And circle the French window.
Is it? And this
Yeah.
is approved.
Yeah.
Underwood,
So you're,
I'm,
making a motion
making
to
a
approve
motion,
that.
yes, yeah, right.
Is there a
As
second?
modified. I second it.
All in favor?
I'll give that, yeah.
All opposed?
Can I just not vote?
You can
Can
abstain,
abstain.
all abstaining.
Abstain, yeah.
Okay, very good.
Good. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
One down.
That was the easy
Couple
one.
people signed it all the way around.
Yes, and wait, well, we will need monitors. We probably want the same monitors on both houses, I would think. But, so maybe we'll wait till we finish the other house and do monitors for both of them.
No, but there's a tax strip. Okay, there's a tax strip right up above at the very top. We can tax it from this and then you can tag it to the building.
Do you want to sign this plan?
Okay, I think we're ready for your presentation.
Okay, so again, for those who weren't here last time, these are the elevations of the proposal that we looked at last time, where we had, on the north elevation, we had a two-story addition that went straight back to 30 feet with a little bump out here to break up the mass of this wall. And the commission, and general opinion, felt that it was too much, too big. And so we've taken that addition, this addition to the east, and reduced its extent by 2 feet. It only extends 28 feet now instead of 30 feet. And we have broken the roof into 2 step downs. This roof stepped down about 17 inches from here to here. It's still the same height here, 17 inches, but it steps down again another 17 inches. And I accomplished that by pushing this piece to the south and dropping the gutter line along here. It still allows us enough room in the bedroom that's up above there. So this follows the two design elements that the commission likes to see, which is stepping down and stepping back. So we've reduced the length from 30 feet, to 14 feet, and we've also pushed this piece back 2 feet. So originally, from here to here was 3'6". From this plane to this plane was 3'6". Now, from this plane to this plane is 5'6". Other than that, we haven't changed anything. The south elevation remains the same, except we now have a step down in the roof, although the roof is continuous on this side, because I brought this roof plane up to match that plane. The other thing, again, for those who weren't here last time, the original house has 3 windows across here and looks rather odd. And we proposed in the very beginning to regularize that by adding 2 new reproduction pine frame windows and making that more consistent. And I'm kind of hoping that when we open that up, we're going to find evidence that that was the way it was built.
Okay, and the original, what it is now, do we have a copy of that anywhere? Be helpful.
Yeah, it should be in the file.
You've got a copy.
We should bring it.
This is what it looks like now.
Here,
Okay,
here it is.
Oh, good, he's got the plan here.
There's
There's
a,
the one in here, Bill,
I
Still
don't,
be nice to see up with the others.
side by side.
the,
Because here's the step down, the original, which is what you should compare it to. Yes.
The addition is now only 6 feet back from the existing foundation line. It was
Oh, that's me, I'm so sorry.
I'm being censored here.
I'm so sorry.
the other thing I'd like to point out, and I was a little confused with my inaccurate square footage tables last time. We've corrected that. And the thing we want to point out is that although this addition is, well, however many square feet is, the total increase in square footage of the house in footprint is 374 square feet on the ground. And the total increase in square footage of the living area is 777 square feet. So it's really not being enlarged by a whole lot, from a 2,000 plus square foot house to a 2,700 square foot plus house. And we've also, David has done a lot of research with the Board of Assessors, and finds that at this house, which is now having living space total of 2,805 square feet, is right in the median for the size of houses up and down the point.
We looked at every house from the post office south. It was over 100 years old, and the average is 2,800 plus. It's actually bigger for this. It's, but yours is beautiful.
Okay. Is that your presentation?
I think
You're done?
that's all.
Okay, the first thing I need to do is I have a letter here from Sharon. And it's going to take me a little while to read this. Dear Commission members, the purpose of this letter is to encourage the Commission members to consider carefully the issue of the appropriate size of new structures and additions when considering the appropriateness of projects within the historic district. This letter is based on a letter originally sent to the Commission by Betty Slade in November 2004. Chapter 40C of the General Laws of Massachusetts clearly defines the Commission's roles as the preservation and protection of distinctive characteristics of buildings and places. And Section 7 of Chapter 40C clearly identifies that appropriate size should be considered both in relation to the land on which the building and structure is situated and to the buildings and adjacent structures in the vicinity. It goes on to state that the Commission may, in appropriate cases, impose dimensional and setback requirements in addition to those required by applicable ordinances and bylaws. In so doing, this section of Chapter 40C empowers the Commission to have significant control over the size of any building or addition within the historical district that is visible from a public way. While there should be no intention to create a museum of the historic district by limiting all additional development, allowing unrestricted addition to the buildings over future generations could not possibly be construed as preserving and protecting the place. There are certain parcels of land within the historic district that, due to their size, location, and adjacencies of other structures, including their neighbors' homes and outbuildings, can only carry a limited amount of size or mass in the ultimate fit-out of their site. Any increase past that limit would have a detrimental effect to the district. In many municipalities, this is a formulated regulation. There are numerous properties in any town that have zero ability, as a right, to increase their mass because they are at the maximal allowable size within the zoning regulations of the particular piece of property. Differing pieces of property have different developmental potential. Some that have reached their full developmental potential have no ability to increase size at all. Others are below their developmental potential and could reasonably have an increase in size. The nature of our historic district is such that the ultimate allowable size or mass cannot always be determined by a simple formula. It is largely because of the uniqueness of each individual property that Chapter 40C gives the Historical Commission the latitude to address size and mass issues and grants such broad powers to determine what is the appropriate size and to impose setbacks. While it might seem a reasonable presumption that any property owner in the Westport Point Historic District should have the right to make an addition to their house, this could not be further from the case. The owner may possess a particular piece of property that is viewable from a public way which, given its configurations, adjacencies, previous additions, etc., will not allow any increase in size or mass. As development of the point continues over time, it is possible that each piece of property, viewed from a public way, will develop all its potential expansion, and that as all properties reach their development limit, it will then be the rare case that any addition will subsequently be allowed. While there can be endless experts who may disagree on what may be too much mass on any given site, it is not their judgment that the state requires. Rather, it is the Historical Commission that is required by Chapter 40C to determine these issues in each individual case. It is the Historical Commission that determines appropriateness. It is the Historical Commission that the state empowers to protect the place. In addition, the guidelines of the Arlington Historical Commission state additions should be designed so that the primary elevations of the original building remain clearly delineated and the original building is not rendered subordinate to or overwhelmed by the addition. Simply put, when a new structure has been erected in a historic district, the reaction of a passerby should not be, "How did that get here?" Additionally, the Lexington Historical Commission agrees. A proper addition is not overwhelming. Its width, height, and depth are similar in scale to the original structure. An inappropriate addition would be taller and wider than the original building. Our own Westport Historical Commission guidelines also state under Section 4, Considerations in Determining Appropriateness, Paragraph B, Size, Scale, and Mass. The Westport Historical Commission shall evaluate proposed additions or new construction for appropriateness of size, scale, and mass relative to the land area of the proposed project, to the existing building, to adjacent buildings in the area, and to the density of the site or area. Additions to the existing footprints should be designed so that the existing building is not rendered subordinate to the addition. An addition taller and/or wider than the existing building would be inappropriate. Additions should be differentiated from the existing building, i.e., set back from the existing wall plane, and not obstruct the visual integrity of the original structure. Thank you for your consideration, Sharon Connors, with CCs to other people. Okay. Do we have comments from the crowd?
Am I correct that the changing the windows on the front of the house was approved at the last meeting, or is that still?
I think those of us up here have said that we think it's appropriate.
Well, I think someone commented that the windows were altered, and that there's proof of that. Can we see that proof?
No, we don't have proof of that.
We're only guessing that they were altered. Why would, there's a closet that was inserted on the second floor. approximately, there's a bedroom here, and there's a closet that was inserted here, which may have compelled the moving of that window.
Right, but the window on the first floor, that is off-centered from the door, which is sort of the quirky beauty of that house, and I can't imagine that somebody would have removed the
It's
window
not-
and moved it over.
It's not
To
an,
me, that's the original window.
it's not an inherited change. We just feel that the house will look better done that way, more consistent with our other houses in the neighborhood.
Well,
And if we, once we start demolition work in there and we find that these really were the original location for the windows, we might well go back to our monitors and propose to leave the windows in the locations that they're in.
Susie, why don't you have some documentation?
Suzanne Carter Pack, 2041 Main Road. And I did watch the film of the last meeting, so I was familiar with this issue. And the comments were made then and tonight that it looks rather odd, and it would be more consistent if it were changed to 4/3. And so, and also that it would be generally appropriate to other houses on the street. So I walked up and down Main Road, and I discovered that 1950, 1948, 1944, 1940, 1990, 2009, 2018, and 2038, 2047, and 2048 all have this existing three upper windows over the two lower. So that's 10 houses between the Packwood and Carter Lane. So I don't think we could necessarily say that it's incongruous with the rest of the point or the architectural design of that time. It seems, particularly because of the houses that are very close to it that were built with a 3/2, that it was a standard.
I have a feeling that either way would be appropriate, but I'm not sure that we could say either way is inappropriate, if I'm making sense.
Well, I think for the width of the house, Rudd, the ones that have the 4/3 are much wider than the ones that I walked by. But, so
I don't think that's entire, I take the count that you've done. I'm sure if I walk up and down, I find almost twice as many that are more symmetrical like this, and if you'd like me to find examples, I will, but we think this is completely consistent with what's on the plan. Where I'm actually surprised this isn't even an issue.
Well,
Because aesthetically.
what we could ask, and I don't know how you feel about this, is that you see what the existing framing shows, and if it shows that this was original, maybe leave it as is.
I can scroll through.
Yeah, I understand entirely, and as I said, it would be appropriate. But maybe I don't know if that's something you would consider or not. I'm just throwing this out.
I personally, as an architect,
Uh-huh,
doing historic restorations and investigating old framing and so forth, I'm very curious to find out whether that was an original
Yeah.
location.
Yeah.
And if we do that, I might even be inclined to persuade my clients to leave it the way it is.
Okay.
We, in our original submittal of photographs of adjacent houses, we showed houses that had that
Odd.
that
Right.
odd window.
Asymmetrical, well, yeah.
I mean, the size of the house is very consistent with a 4-bay house. It was called a 3/4 house. You typically had a half house which had 2 windows and 1 door on the side. You had a 3/4 house which had 2 windows, a door, and 1 window, and then you had a full house which had 2 windows, a door in the middle, and 2 windows on the other side. And if it turns out that that's the way it was built originally, as with only 3 windows across the top, we can consider that as leaving it that way.
I mean, this isn't Nantucket, but pick up any book on Nantucket and thumb through it, and you will see more asymmetrical, off-centered windows than you will see symmetrical.
you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, I love this, somebody else likes it connected. So, and windows got moved around too, historically, as well, for pragmatic purposes. All right.
There are many three-quarter houses throughout New England. Most of the three-quarter houses have the configuration that you're approving, that you're proposing. Although, it's sure nice to see some oddity, too, where something really was built that way, and it would be nice to preserve that.
In previous meetings with this commission, the commission indicated that they were in favor of this change. So we're
Until we
just-
take a final vote,
Okay, I understand that.
until we take a final vote.
But I do want to just state that on the record.
Yeah.
That we're not proposing anything new. This is our fourth meeting.
Mhm.
This is exactly what we discussed at the prior 2 or 3 meetings. So-
Yeah, but, you know, we're hearing objections, we're hearing presentations, we're not, nothing's written in stone until
I
we've
understand.
voted.
But for the
Okay.
record,
Yeah,
wanted to state
Fair
that.
enough.
Thank you.
yes.
It's interesting that if you look at the house next to us, immediately north of us,
Mhm.
the south facing, all 5 of the windows are different.
Yeah,
And
I
they're
know that, I know
original.
that one.
And it's original, so these kinds of things happen.
It's because he was using what he
And
had
they
left
never
over.
wanted
He was a
to-
builder.
They didn't want to change it because there were
Right.
5 windows that looked different. So
Right.
that's one thing to look at, that's the Collins house.
Thank you.
Yeah, right across the street.
Yeah.
That's 2033? Is that right?
I think so, Collins is the
Yeah,
same.
thank you.
The man who built it was a carpenter. He must have
Right,
got-
right, no, this is what he had left over in the yard. So he just used what he had.
Yankee thrift.
Right.
I still want to mention the L that juts out on the south side. I think that is, I still feel that is inappropriate, that it should be at least flush with the side of the house. You can see from the drawing here, that room is massive. And it juts out, and I remember at the last meeting, there was a comment that maybe it's that they want to sit there and see the sunset or whatever, but I stood in front of that on the sidewalk this afternoon and took the picture, and they don't see a sunset. This is what they see, exactly what they see.
That room, sorry, is 277 square feet. It is anything but massive.
Uh-huh.
It's
Well, maybe by
277
today's
square feet.
standards, but it's.
I don't think 277 square feet is massive.
We do a lot.
Yes, again, it's in the eye.
My
of the
experience.
beholder.
It isn't the point.
It's objective. It's not massive. I just want to be careful when we say things like massive, that we're speaking about facts, and it's 277 square.
But it does stick out.
And that was based on prior discussions with this commission.
No, but again,
But
I
if you,
understand.
if you,
Yes,
cut even
David.
where that doorway is and with the plane of that house, how many square feet would it be? It would still be a very large workable room.
Can I
Yes,
come up?
please come up.
Speak? I'm
Whatever-
having trouble
whatever.
Hearing, you're kind of all carrying on informal conversations.
We'll try to speak more clearly.
And, well, more clearly, and the people, when they get up to speak,
Fair enough.
not just kibitz and go back and forth, so that, I think you're trying to record the meeting. Yeah, okay, you are trying to record, do you hear everything?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, good, well, you're better than I am.
Then you can always listen to the
Main point
recording.
I wanted to raise is this addition out to the south.
Mhm.
I just think, I don't know of any other houses around that have had that kind of an extension that stuck out like that. And it interferes, one of the big virtues that the people walking up and down Main Road is that they can look down between the houses and down the driveways at the water. And they come and take pictures, they paint pictures, etc. And there is the other house behind that this would cover up somewhat. But I just think it changes the character of the house, it changes the view. And as
Sharon, Ms. Potter said, Mrs. Connor said, it creates this large room. And it looks to me like you've taken something off the north side and added more onto the south side of that room. And I don't understand why that is done. I think if you left the north wall where it was, or even continued it back out, consistent with the wall to the west of it, then you could maybe fit in a reasonably sized room for Westport Point, but not just Westport Point, but the 1770s houses in Westport Point, of which this is one. And fit it in so you don't block that view. So I just think that is a distortion that should not be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kit,
May I?
the additions, the existing additions on the building, how old are they?
Oh, what, 25 years?
1990, I believe, 1980.
Well, okay, that's fine. But one of the things about additions on buildings that you see on a house like this is often those additions are contemporary with the building or added at a later date. Let's just say this is an 18th century house, and maybe in 1800 they would add the section on the back. And
That's not
we're
the
always
case
looking
here.
out because we don't want to see any additions on the back of houses torn down either,
That are historic.
that are historic. So, but you're saying they're not.
Those additions are not historic.
Yeah, they don't have a stone foundation or anything like that.
I think it's
Just,
1994.
Okay.
I saw the
Okay.
plans today at the
Okay.
town hall.
Okay.
Okay, the other thing is in that addition that's projected out to the south, is that going to interfere with the ancient well that's there?
No, it's not. Again, you have in your file, you have the site plan for the property.
Yeah.
Which again, I did not bring. because
Yeah, I got it.
relying
And that shows the location of the,
I would remark that there's quite a lot of space between the south facade of the existing house and the property line. So, in fact, the view between this house and the house to the south of it will still be open, even though this is projecting out 9 feet, because the house is set back probably a good, what,
As
25?
open as it is now?
No, not as open as it is now. It'll be less open. It'll still be a view down through that slot, like there's a view down through the slots of many other houses.
Do you know how many feet it is from the facade of the south, the new facade to property line?
I'd have to look at the site plan, which I don't have with me. It's-
I don't know
it's-
either.
There's, may I? There's, Jeff, there's ample land on the
Yeah,
south
I saw
side.
it.
And there is no water view currently from Main Road because 2040, a hedge, and 2 sheds and trees are blocking the water view. from Main Road.
Hedges don't help.
Right. We,
I understand.
yeah.
But my point
And
is,
trees don't help.
Yeah.
my point is, it's not going to impede a water view. Again, it's 277 square feet.
Yes.
I'm looking at your guidelines,
Yes.
and it says, in addition to other daily providers, then the existing building would be inappropriate. Period.
Okay.
It's wider.
Also, let's just
Although-
clarify
Oh, okay, go ahead.
how much of an increase is it? Last time we had 46%, then 38%. From the existing square footage to what you're proposing, what is it?
It's 38, 30 something.
It's 777 square feet.
So it's not the
It's not 930.
1654?
Last time we had
The numbers are
930.
on the plan here, and Kate can correct me if I'm wrong, but the incremental increase in square footage is 777 square feet.
And which is an increase of what? 20%, 25%?
No, it's 30.
31 was 38.
Kit, what
It
is
was
it?
38 last time.
Kit, you've
with
got the percentage on the
1650.
plan. What is it?
Yes, it's 31%.
31%.
Here's the 31%.
Well, gross living area increases by 31.
I think, I want to bring up something that I threw out at Kit. after last meeting, which, just so people understand kind of what the alternatives might be or could be. And one was that instead of making it a 3/4 house, make it a 4/4 house. Just like the Hanleys, Leo and Barbara made theirs from a half house to a full house. And you could do that, you would get the sunset, and it would block the same view. I mean, you know, you could do that and then have leave the existing addition, have a smaller addition on the back, etc. So everyone should be aware that that's a possibility as well.
Could I just
Yeah.
address your example, Suzanne
Yeah.
Carter Pennington? The Handy House, Barbara and Leo Brooks house, I'm sorry, you said the Handy House?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Hanley,
No,
Hanley.
You meant Barbara and Leo's
Yeah, I'm
house.
sorry. Did I get the wrong name?
No, you didn't.
What's the
Hanley.
number?
Her name was
Hanley,
Hanley.
yeah.
Hanley.
Yes, yes.
Hamley.
No,
Yes.
Hanley.
House number.
Hanley.
Is there her last name?
Oh, we're talking about Barbara.
Yes,
Barbara
Barbara and
Hanley.
Leo. I said Barbara and Leo, sorry.
So we're talking about a
Does
house.
anybody know what the house number is?
It's just north of
2001.
Valentine Lane.
2001.
2001.
Okay.
2001. All right, we're talking about 2001.
Would not have
And I remember the controversy
Mm-hmm.
that arose over that, and the Coles can probably chime in more than I can.
We don't have polls, we just
We
have
have-
one.
Yes, Eddie Slade could probably chime in better than I can. But as I remember, one of the reasons that that was approved was because there were records that showed the original owner had a half house and it sent to Maine by ship to gather the lumber to make it a whole house.
Mhm.
And the lumber was lost in a shipwreck on the way back.
Uh-huh.
And that was what carried the day for Barbara Hanley and Leo Brooks at the time. So that's correct, thank you.
Okay.
So
I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that, although it is not the only house that was made from a half house to a whole house at some point in history,
Yes. but I
or a
just-
3/4 house to a 4/4 house.
I wanted to have on the record that it was not done lightly, that it was not approved lightly.
Understood, but it was approved.
And also the site, I mean, it's a corner lot,
Yes.
and there's a lot of space.
There was plenty of room.
On both sides.
Yeah, it's a big lot.
But there's quite a bit of room to the south of this house as well.
There is.
Yeah, so, just so that we're all on the same page.
Kit, has that option been considered?
No, it is not.
Okay.
And programmatically, it probably doesn't, it probably would be hard to make work.
You mean the lot line?
No, programmatically, for the use of the house.
Well,
Interior.
I'm looking at the existing floor plan of the house, the existing house. And by adding on that section on it, it would make a very usable room, which has the original fireplace and everything.
It could, yes.
So what's the problematic about it? Why would you say that's problematic?
He said programmatic.
Programmatic. As far as the use.
Yeah, as far as the use of the space,
Okay.
yes.
But you
Can I
don't
just-
know, because they haven't had a chance to even think about it.
I just ask a question on that, just for clarification, because I don't know if I'm lost, but are you suggesting, I don't know where to stand. Are you suggesting that this wall? come
That's
out?
correct.
Yes.
And then
That's
that
correct.
come across like
That's
this?
correct. Well, not necessarily all the way back, just back to the original house, back to the end of the original house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but that would allow them then.
No, I think.
No.
Make more of
I
that,
think.
you know?
No, then you wouldn't need, for the sunset view, you wouldn't need that.
If you
That's,
added this
that's,
square footage, you would not need this.
that's correct.
I don't
That-
understand either. What'd you say again?
Okay, maybe, let me do it, because I was the one who came up with this
What
concept.
you're saying is you make this house two windows, one door, two windows. You can put the door here,
wires.
and then that would create this house. And then Mitch is saying that you would
The
cut this
sleeve
house
over
right
here.
here.
Bump out at the back.
Out of the way.
So it'd be kind of like
I
this,
don't
and
think
then,
you need that
yeah,
anyway.
but-
Or maybe
Just for
some of the
clarification.
existing addition, not necessarily all of that.
Right,
right. I mean, you have a little bit of play in there in the back.
yeah.
You have a little play in the back. of the
Yeah,
house,
you'd
far down.
still want to set this plane back a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
But you would be because your new plane is sticking out.
Oh, yeah, that's why I said your new plane way out here. So what I was originally showing was, if you move this out.
And actually, it's
this
further,
out,
Jeff,
then you move this
Jeff, it
back.
would come further out than you've drawn it, if you were just to get the
Yeah, it might need to come
dimension. You
further out,
you
yeah.
come in.
Okay, I just needed it for clarification.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not weighing in on it at all, I just wanted to clarify. But,
So I don't know how that changes anyone's thinking, but
No, I just had to
Yeah.
understand. So I do have a question and, not many comments, but this, most of it been said. I do appreciate the stepping that you did away from the lane, you know, the driveway, or whatever you call it between us.
That's a common way.
That starts to lessen it a little bit on the impact.
The mass.
It doesn't do much to the big mass, but it does step it back away from my property a little bit. The question I have is, because when you did this, so where are we? Hold on a second. Here. Oh, right here. So you took what was the floor line up here and dropped it just here.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if you actually dropped it again, if this whole thing then could even come down further.
It goes below the flood elevation when we do that. I'm dropping it just to the flood elevation.
Okay.
That was
Which, is that like the? is that
Yeah.
14 or whatever?
So it's 14 or so, I think.
Yeah, it's 14.
And, you know,
Yeah.
it actually costs more to insure it every year if you're below the flood elevation.
Yeah.
That is a consideration.
well, you don't want to get flooded either, so.
And that's it. That's it.
I understand.
That doesn't necessarily apply, just to clarify, you can do things with the foundation to raise the foundation up to act as a barrier, I believe.
Yeah, but
And then
the
drop the
rule,
floor.
the rule speaks to the floor level, not the height of the foundation.
Okay. I don't believe so, but that's okay.
No, it speaks to the elevation of the floor.
Okay.
And in an A zone, which this is, the floor has to be at or above the 100-year flood elevation.
I was absent from the last meeting, and I did view the video, and I found a comment that Jeff Wade, and Jeff, you're in a butter, I mean, I see that here, but I didn't know who you were really, that he made a comment that I thought was very well important for the district, and that is that the beauty of these houses are that they've been added onto and added onto and added onto, and it gives the building a character that you don't find in a house in a subdivision. And I think we have to look at additions on the back and think that this is kind of what would have happened if they were added onto through a period of history. So, I've been in so many houses on Westport Point that I walk in and I say, this is incredible. No one would ever design a house like this. It's too interesting. I mean, if I was designing, and I do design houses in subdivisions, and I say, boy, I would have never come up with this wonderful idea. And that's what does happen with these buildings. They are really something to see and be in, and they're not boring. That's what creates the interest in antique architecture. I just want to make that comment because that's what Jeff was saying at the last meeting. I was here for the preliminary meeting, and it looked almost like we see here on the north elevation, and that's what I objected to. The fact that we just had this tenement structure added onto it, and I was very surprised that our applicants came before the commission with something that was so difficult for us to look at and comment on.
That's actually
This one here now has changed. This is the second iteration. and now we have the third, and I find that that's much more acceptable, and you did take Jeff's comment about telescoping back, so I think that that's a great improvement.
Yeah, we kind of disagree, because at the first preliminary meeting, where it was stepped down and it was stepped back, but it had some doors that were kind of awkward. At that first meeting, or maybe it was at the site meeting that I wasn't there, it was suggested that a simple two-story addition running from the back of the building like this.
It was by me, my mistake. I take full
Okay. And then
responsibility.
we talked about that at
Yeah.
one point, and we proposed this piece to.
Something.
To mitigate it.
Right.
So this was an attempt to
Yeah.
do that. I agree entirely, that this is a much better elevation, much better massing, much sort of quirkier.
Right.
May I speak a little further on a couple of other
Sure.
issues here?
Speak further.
I'd like to rebut about this addition projecting perpendicularly to the south. There are a number of instances where that is done in the district. I'm not sure that I have evidence with me directly, but you can find additions like this project off perpendicular. And honestly, at the previous meeting, I don't think there was a whole lot of objection to this addition. And it's a pragmatic, quirky addition, provided with the space that the family that lives in the house needs. I'd also like to point out from that very well-researched letter that Mrs. O'Connor read. Connors, excuse me. That, this proposal meets all of those criteria. The additions are narrower and lower than the existing house. There's nothing anywhere nearly as wide as this in these additional elements too. Well, the back here, but that's one element and that's another. And it seems to me that the proposal meets all of the Commission's standard requirements for stepping down and stepping back.
What about the facade, though, from the street, looking at it?
What, this?
Yeah.
Well, this is, well, you have to realize that this is back in the distance. And it's not as though this were all right out on the street front.
What is the projection of that addition?
It's 9 feet from here to here.
So how much is
9
9 feet? If you were looking in this room, what would you say 9 feet is?
I can tell you what 9 feet is. My wingspan is 6 feet, and if I go there to my nose,
Yeah, it's big,
that's 9 feet.
and it's not that far back.
I think we're seeing something in this plan that makes it look larger than it really is. If you're looking at the facade, and
Well,
this
that's
is,
because it's projecting out from an addition that's been set back.
right, but
Yeah.
let's say we're just looking at that right
Yes.
there, and we're seeing a 3/4 house with a 9-foot section stuck out. That's not unusual to see that.
I mean, the existing house is probably, what, 25 feet wide?
Something like that, yes.
So, not, yeah.
It's probably 24.
Well,
I think it's interesting.
It's 28.
So it's a
What's in
third.
I think, to Sharon's point too in her letter about being appropriate with the abutting properties. And you two are abutters who have very contained, small houses, well suited for your living and all, but you didn't go out and up as you said you could have. And you brought in those pictures last time of this sort of behemoth that, was going to block things for your view and your sun ability and all that. And so I'm concerned with the two of you and how you feel as immediate abutters. What is this going to look like from your perspective in your houses?
Well, I am north of Jeff, so I'm
You're-
two
yeah.
houses up. But, from the street, this is going to be very noticeable. And I again have to disagree with Kit. You do not see these things projecting out from the sides of houses on the point. You just don't.
And Jeff, to those drawings that you brought in last time?
Yeah, I think that they made some good strides.
I agree. I think this is much improved over that, except for that projection on the south side. I think if that wasn't there, I would say I have no problems with the rest of it.
I don't know how much
I
that
personally
jumps out.
think it's still a little
More
bit
than
harsh
that.
for my taste.
That's
And
what,
That's
about
probably
6?
12 feet.
it
That's
just
12?
feels a little bit heavy. You know, architecture
So
is not,
See that?
is not line up all the things you have about a building and you check them off. Because it's not a ledger sheet. It's really about your overall feel. It's about your environment. It's about relationships to planes and you know, if you have dormers, it's not even dormers are in or out. It's dormers are out, or dormers are in, they just are fantastic. So it's actually how you put things together that makes it acceptable or not acceptable. And sometimes there's intangibles
This is a
there.
different kind of house. This is
I think that
that doesn't count.
this is, again, it's large for what I would want to see there. I think I would like to see somehow it be scaled down from a 2-story down, story and a half, whatever you want to call it, you know, type of a thing, especially in that back part. But again, it's a lot better than it was. But I just think for the building in front of it and for the lot and everything else to me, it just feels a little bit bigger.
And if I could speak to
Absolutely.
Suzanne Carter, Pack 2041 Main Road. Sharon Connor's letter talked a lot about the size and scale and mass relative to the land mass. And I'm sorry, I don't know the owner's name, but
Lauren Peters.
Peter, you made the comment that the median size of houses on the point is, I think you said 2,805 square feet. But that also includes houses like the Marshall House that has a lot of land, Leo and Barbara's house that have a lot of land around them.
The Pastor
Yes, they're large houses on the point, and this may not be incongruous, but they also have a lot of land. And I'm afraid if we start selling houses that are probably appropriate to the size of the land mass, and then adding to them, we're not going to have the same charm that we have now on the point. And so it all comes back to me, size, scale, and mass relative to the land size.
Yes. Do you have a site plan in your package to show the existing house?
No, we don't have
Do you
the site plan.
plan that shows the existing house on the site?
Well, I have some pictures.
I think, Kit, is the house about the same size as the yard, or width? It's like 28 feet plus. How big is the side yard? You know, I don't.
It's on the original
Here,
site
here.
plan.
Here it is. Try this
There's
picture.
ample land on the south side. In fact, the
Is it
house
not
is-
a site plan?
Photo here. Hold on. The photo's the best thing we've got.
Maybe help. If this
And Jeff,
was
I
brought
might
down to
add
be a one-story building,
that
I know you want to get enough space up there, and then this was brought over, so this came over like that. You'd have a cape, you know, that on the back.
Isn't that like the original? Isn't that like the original?
No,
But tell us.
it more so,
I have
but
the original here.
I have to answer your question. It's more than 30 feet to the property line from the end of the addition. So, the original proposal. This-
what I mean. You don't want to lose space upstairs in that bedroom, so if you brought this over here and made it a one-story,
Yeah, then you get a nice rhythm.
then that was Jeff was saying,
Yeah, I like
that brings it down.
So the answer,
Jeff?
Yes.
Jeff?
the answer to the question is, the house itself is 28 feet wide. This addition is 9 feet. And the distance from this addition to the property line in the adjacent house is another 30 feet. So there's presently a south yard, 30,
Your idea
39,
of bringing this
38
down,
feet.
this could be a one-story addition on the back.
Excuse me, I thought you said it was
Like this.
39 from the existing
And then
house.
to get more space upstairs, they could continue it this way.
That's my plan,
Suggest
wonderful.
that.
Is it 39?
You,
Would you support that?
would you support that?
Okay, from this.
You should get a fee for this design you're proposing.
You're still gonna get the same space upstairs. You're gonna lose a little bit, but you'll have a knee wall here and a knee wall. But if you bring it this way over, you could,
Maybe lose one of those.
a one-story.
What are you talking about?
Now, this section on the back,
What are you talking about?
well, wherever it is,
Let's see what you just drew.
You drew it on there. Here's the original.
My plans.
give me that plan. If you had this, and this is what we're looking at now.
Yeah.
And if we drop this down to a one-story level, right here, then this roof line will come down. This whole thing will drop down, and that's what Jeff had suggested.
It's a bedroom in the back, okay.
But the bedroom, you know, that's what they'll say, you're gonna lose space on that. But if you bring this over, then you're gaining.
Bring what over?
It's still gonna be a cape, you're gonna lose some of the bedroom space, but this wall is gonna be open. Can I draw it on your plan?
It's not mine.
Here it is. Here it is. This is what it would look like. It would, following that pitch, go up here,
And then come down
over
further.
here, following that pitch would go over there, and then you would have, obviously, that bedroom up here,
You lose all that bedroom.
you lose a lot of the bedroom.
You lose the entire bedroom.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we,
Do some move this along?
can we move this along? Sure. I believe that we have no further evidence to present at this point. We've
Okay.
stated our case.
Do we have more discussion among the commission members?
I'd like Bill's suggestions to be vetted.
All right, well then
Excuse me.
let's,
This is a public meeting. Jen, can you just repeat what you just said? Sorry. Could you please?
Sure.
Thank you.
He was showing me the drawing which I showed you, your architect, Ken. And I'm sorry, I didn't do it. I wasn't planning on stopping there. I was going to have him say what he wanted. So he was showing how that third step, you know, the front building, and the next step, and then the next step down. So the back step was, in his opinion, was too tall. And he was trying to figure out a way to bring it down to a one-story, but make it slide it back and make it a little bit bigger so that you still have as much space upstairs, but it's not as tall. So that's what he was trying to show. And all I said was, instead of trying to actually show a resulting design, just say what you like and don't like, and you can work on something. So that's all we said. So I'm sorry. I
No, thank you. It's a public meeting. I just want to make sure
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
on record. Thank you.
and Bill, do you want to,
Well,
since it was your
what
suggestion,
I
you
wanna
want to
say-
make that suggestion?
What I want to say is that we're trying to find some kind of compromise so this can be approved. And so we've got opinions from the abutters, and we've made great progress. But I was just trying to find a way of making this work, and so we could all vote on it and be happy with it. And so I thought one of the things that Jeff had just mentioned, which I never thought of, would be to if you look at the elevation, we're going to look at the north elevation now. You look at it, if that section on the back was dropped down to the proportion of a cape, or even it could be a cape with a 1 foot knee wall on it, just to bring it down. And then it could be, if you look at the rear elevation, which would be the east elevation, that you would see that you could still get a decent bedroom up there with the windows looking out at the water, because you could expand it over to where those that bank of 3 double hung windows are. So if you expanded it that way, then and lowered it, then it would look very different from the side. That was my idea. I just thought it might be appeal to people, including the applicants.
Bill, can you give a guesstimate as to how much the roof line would drop?
Well,
on the last?
Kit can do that.
Well, no, I've got a question, Bill, actually, so I'm gonna make sure I understand this. Are you saying eliminate the south wing and have this as a wider, lower, one-story roof? Or yes or no?
No, just
No, keep the
that section.
south wing, but just drop the elevation of the last
I think what
extension.
Bill was talking,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
south wing was
Okay.
not
Okay,
part of the
was not part of the
conversation.
conversation,
He was
because
just
I know that's
asking
also
about
an
height.
issue. Okay, okay.
He was concerned about height.
Okay, just so I know
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
No, I'm not talking about the projection from the side right here. I'm talking about that whole idea of telescoping down even a little further, that's all. And just wondered how people would feel about that.
Well, that would be an improvement.
Yeah, I think you've made great strides from the original plans, but a little bit more. I think these suggestions are good, and I think the abutters would be much more comfortable with that. Maybe. I don't know.
As a great man said, less is more.
The projection from the side, I know, has been a big issue, but as I look at it directly in front, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I feel it's perfectly consistent with early American architecture. But maybe it is from the side, that you think of from the side view, that it's going to bother you. That's a tough call.
Side meaning east.
Well, when you're
No,
looking,
south.
when
I
you're
was
looking,
talking south.
when you're looking into
Upper
it,
right-hand corner.
when you're
that's
on
what
the
he's
street and
talking
you're
about.
looking towards, down towards the water, you're going to see it. We're looking at an elevation. The elevation is very different than actual seeing the building.
And the windows in the front, you could argue that either way, but I think it's elegant what the proposal is, and it's fine.
So, where are we? No, do you want us to take a vote on your existing proposal, or do you want us,
Do you want to
what do we want to do here? Let's talk about this.
Is Kit going to react to this?
I believe we'd like to have a vote on this proposal.
On this proposal?
Kit, so you're not going to react to what I've proposed?
Can you respond to that, Kit?
Is it feasible to lower the roof area?
It may be feasible. I can't design something on the spot in my head.
Okay, could
Could we vote on component parts?
we we have
Oh,
an
that's an idea, Carol.
No, we can't.
extension? You can't?
Vote on the
Like the
proposal.
No, we have to vote on what's before us, unfortunately.
Okay.
So,
Maybe they want to continue.
yeah.
This is our 4th meeting,
Yeah.
plus the site visit that we had, and we have taken all of your feedback. In fact, this is directly responsive to the last meeting in every way. So
Except for the volume, but,
we reduced the size relative to the last
well,
meeting.
so 930 to 777, yes.
We reduced the size, we're telescoping, we're stepping down, we're doing everything you've asked. This is our 4th meeting. And this is in our view, and I'd like my architect to speak, we don't think this is in any way incongruent with anything on the plan. The Longs are direct abutters to the south, that express support for everything we're doing in 2040 and 2038. Okay. We would like a vote on this plan.
I don't see why going to one more meeting here, if to satisfy the abutters and everyone, is a problem. Because you've
every
had
time-
3 different meetings, so
Mr. Kendall.
another meeting.
Because, Mr. Kendall, we've been back 4 times.
Yeah.
And in all fairness to us, the feedback that we receive each time we incorporate, and the rules change. We have met every ask here. We would like a vote on this plan.
Well, I don't know that you reduce the size as much as,
We reduced the roof line.
no, but as much as people thought was appropriate. I'm
You
just.
told me last time, you're not here to dispense design advice. I heard that repeatedly. And what you're telling me now, and I asked you specifically last time, what are you proposing? And no one on the record would tell us what you wanted. So we reduced the size, we reduced the footprint, we reduced the height, we've done step backs, we've done step downs. I've been up and down the point, I photographed every house on Main Road from the post office south. I'm confident that this is consistent with other homes on the point. So we respect everyone's opinion, and clearly this is our 4th meeting. We've tried very hard to incorporate it. We are taking it seriously. I've spent time and a lot of money to get this right.
We love doing historic
So-
renovations, it's not our first time doing this. And we just want the space to be usable for our family, and the second floor as it stands is now usable, and it was not. And the addition that's on there now, it's actually kind of dangerous, the way the ceiling height is, and there's like a tiny little step up. And so that's what you're seeing here is us just trying to make it so that it's usable and safe, and we'd like to spend a lot of time there. And
But you wouldn't agree then to have your architect explore that one idea that might make everyone feel comfortable with
If you
your
can guarantee the outcome of the next meeting.
Nobody.
We could ask the
Okay,
people
then-
right here.
No,
How do people feel about that?
I don't know how that would.
Sharon? Sharon?
I still disagree with this projection on the
The
south
south
side.
projection.
That
I hear
it
you.
is inappropriate. And I will also would like to say to this lovely couple, I know you're lovely people, because Jeff and Elizabeth and told me so, that I lived in that house for 4 months when my house was under renovation. And it was a beautiful house. And I see the rooms in the front, and I don't know how you're going to use the rooms because of, you know, it's your home. You can use it any way you want. But these rooms are very generously sized. And-
Oh, sure, yeah, yes, absolutely. No,
The
yeah,
kitchen
Sharon, could
area-
you stop talking while they step
Yes.
out and continue when they return? Okay.
I want to hear what they're saying.
Maybe a move.
For the record too, I think we've told you guys this, that we actually won an award in Wellesley for the renovation of our home from the historic committee there, so. So we take a lot of pride in that, and we want to make this home very beautiful and appropriate, and, you know.
I could just mention aside, we saw these plans as they stand this evening,
That's true.
That's true.
which is sort of short notice. I could have written letters to abutters if I wanted to.
Yeah, we did not get copies of the plans.
We didn't have.
Laura's, on your comment, because I said it before too, is I've talked with them, at least with the detailing and the intent and everything like that. Talked to them before and do all that.
I even
about
have a mailbox to look
your
to see if
interest
there's
in the
anything.
industry and everything. So I have every bit of confidence that once they get to the plan, that will finish it off very nicely. I think that was exemplified by their willingness to go with the plank windows and 6/9s, you know, so quickly, because they probably knew that was the right thing to do, and they want to do the right thing, so. I do have the confidence in them for that, so.
Yeah, and a cedar roof. And I recommend that everyone have cedar roofs on the point.
Okay.
Investing there.
Where are
I
we?
would second that.
Unfortunately, we don't have jurisdiction over roofing.
I know.
This would be really nice.
It was a topic of discussion at the last meeting.
Right. Yes.
I don't think our objective here is to reach consensus among everyone in the room. The neighbors are entitled to their views. They're not necessarily correct. Some of them are, some of them aren't.
No.
But
We're not trying to reach consensus.
it's,
What we're saying is there are valid points being made that are reflected among the opinions of the people on the commission, but that's, okay.
we have presented a proposal that has responded to all of your interests and all of your basic tenets of design about stepping down and stepping back and not overwhelming the existing building. We would like to have a vote on the existing plan, and we would like to have Mr. Beauregard, our attorney, address the board before you do that.
With your permission?
Sure.
My name is Philip Beauregard. I've practiced law for a little over 50 years, a lot of it in Westport, for and against. And there's probably a lot of cases that I've dealt with, including one involving the Historic Commission back 15 years ago or so in the Superior Court. And there is language in that decision. I don't know if the board here, the commission here is familiar with it, but it does address itself to things like mass and volume and everything else. And some of the things that I've heard, I don't pretend to know anything close to any architectural proficiency or knowledge. What I do know is that, and what the law knows, is that there are limits within which the commission can work. And those are, as has been brought up, the statute and the regulations in question. With all due respect, I've been here for the second meeting, I think, and I was called in after there was a little bit of frustration on my client's part, Mr. Jonkis, that perhaps his desire and his work toward trying to satisfy not just the commission, but the neighbors as well. In my practice, I've seldom seen as much attention and consideration, which I think is not a bad thing, given to the neighbors, and neighbors that have a lot of architectural knowledge. But they have certain views, they have certain interests in mind, and very set opinions on what these houses should look like from the point of view of the guidelines of the commission. And unusually so. I don't think I've ever seen a commission or a board that's gone overboard, or not overboard, but gone so strongly to try to, which is basically a good thing, to try to accommodate the neighbors. But one would get the feeling.
Just one correction, we're mostly not talking neighbors, we're talking people who live on the point, who many of whom were served on this commission, who are in this room tonight, so.
Right,
Okay.
but I think that makes my
But who are aware of the commission's objectives and guidelines, but yes.
I think that makes my point even stronger. The fact they're not on the commission now, it's you people that are on the commission.
We are on the commission.
And the extent to which you're listening to architectural expertise, and I don't mean to argue with you here, but what I am telling you is that the way this hearing is developed has struck me as I'm sitting here in my kind of amateurish from an architectural point of view, listening to what this is. I do know what the law is, because I've tried a case on this, in fact, in Westport here, and I've had a couple of
That
others.
decision was made on, where I think the judge was imposing his own opinion as opposed to ruling on the law. So I'm not sure that the judgment on that
That's
was
normally
actually
what
based,
rules a case.
was actually well-based.
That's normally what rules a case, sir.
You know, it's
It's the
the
judge's-
law,
it's
the
the
law,
judge's opinion.
it's not the judge's architectural opinion, it's the law. He should have been looking at whether
The
the
judge is
historic
the
commission
judge.
had the authority or not. But we can argue past cases if you like, but now's not the time.
No, that's a useful comment. That's a
Yeah.
useful comment. Is the view of this commission is that that judge was wrong on architecture, and that's.
He didn't have authority over architecture, he had authority over the law, and he was ruling on architecture, but that's a different question.
I appreciate the point of view that you've indicated, and as Mr. Jonkis has said, this is all part of the record. I'm not saying that to try to be offensive. I live in Westport. I love Westport, and I've tried numerous cases for the town of Westport in past years. And my affection goes to the town and to the good work that's done by all the boards and commissions in this town. I'm suggesting to you that what I've heard here, and I know you're not going to accept my view of the law. If you don't accept Judge McGuire's view of the law, you're going to accept your view of architecture. And I'm suggesting to you very respectfully that that's not what the law calls for, and that's not what's going to be upheld in a court of law if this has to go there. We sincerely hope that it doesn't, because it's going to be a lot of money and resources and time on the part of all parties, but that's the way it goes. One would hope that in the case of the tower, which I represented the objectors to the tower, that principle would have carried the day, but it didn't. It was money and it was expenses that took the Board of Selectmen of this town to cave in and allow that to go forward. It's the opposite of what I'm arguing for here. And I hope I haven't been offensive in my argument, but I did want to make my feelings known to you.
I thank you for your feelings. I'm sorry that we're getting legal feelings. I think that sounds like a threat to me, but that's just my opinion. And it, quite frankly, colors my view of this. But
And with all your affection for the point, for the people here, for what we're trying to do as an historic commission, isn't it worth it just to do one more effort here before you bring in lawyers and threats and,
This is not a threat.
you know, okay.
Not at all.
Sounds like that should be.
Well, it is.
It did sound like it.
It's not a threat, but this is our fourth meeting, and we have taken all of your feedback. What you've told
how
us-
long have we had to look at these plans?
I'm sorry.
How?
I'm sorry.
No, but sorry.
May I?
Yes.
Okay. This is our fourth meeting. We spent a lot of architect fees. We have, I can't tell you how many revisions based on all of your feedback. We have tried, and we have heard you, and we have incorporated every design element from the last meeting. Step down, step back, smaller, not as far towards the river. We've done literally everything.
We took off our
We removed the dormers. I'm sorry, you said it's not small enough? Then what is the right size for this
4
property?
meetings is not so egregious. Most people here who've done anything to their house has been through at least 4 revisions.
Plus the site visit. But I'm asking, what is the appropriate size for this house then? If you're telling us, what does that mean then?
The addition that's on there now is from the
But-
90s, and
but-
we're trying to make it better.
But that's the issue, Ms. Bolter. You're telling me it needs to be smaller. You told us that last time. We came back and we made it smaller. And then you want me to come back for another meeting, and then you're gonna tell me it needs to be smaller still. And it's the subjectivity that is the frustration. Because we have heard you on every point, and we have incorporated. We are gonna be neighbors with Jeff. Jeff's in a butter. We like Jeff. We like the lawns, and we have listened to Jeff. But I did not think the last meeting was constructive. Because we came in here hoping feedback, and it was an assault, okay? It was. We're asking for a vote, and that is how we felt. Because there wasn't a lot of constructive commentary, and I watched the video 2 or 3 times. I've heard, what I heard on tape, dormitory, shit show, the things that were uttered by this board, I'm sorry.
Shit show?
You can watch the tape.
Okay.
I would like a vote on the property. I feel like we've met every requirement. And we feel it meets all of your asks from the prior 4 meetings, including the site visit.
Thank you for your comments. I would like to say that in terms of size, you have never met our requirements.
What are they?
It just that it was too big.
But
It was too big in respect to the front house, the historic house. But
With all due respect, you originally suggested we do a 2-story addition to the south, and we came to you and said, we don't think that's appropriate. We've come to you with a 1-story addition, 277 square feet. And you repeatedly said here and in the prior meeting that it's too big, and I'm asking you, tell me then, if you can, what the right size
I
is.
don't speak for the board. I can't determine what the vote will be
Do you want us to
tonight.
scale it back by 100 square feet?
Do you want it to just be the
50?
same size as the addition that's there now?
Give us the feedback.
Well, what are
Because
the opinions of the people on the board?
That
gave
for a
you an
second
idea.
story that's very usable.
Apparently, one of our commission members have had a suggestion as how to reduce the square footage. And
But
apparently
so
you
what-
don't
so
want,
what
you
is
don't
our
want to
target?
hear that.
No,
Do
no,
you
I-
want to hear it or don't you want to hear it?
I do want to hear it, but I'm asking you, what is sorry, what is the target that you want us to achieve? What is the appropriate amount of square footage from your perspective?
It's a visual appropriateness.
Ms. Bolter said it was too big. I'm
It's
asking
too big,
for-
yes, and
what does
that has to do with the scale. It's a scale that, we don't look at the insides of your house. All we look at is that's all we have jurisdiction over is the outside.
And we've
And
reduced every aspect of this design from the last one. The height, the setback, the step back, the distance from the river, everything. Everything you asked for.
Right,
And yet you're telling me again, it's too big. So I'm asking you, tell us what you want to see in this plan from a size point of view. And we'll see if we can deliver.
I can't tell you.
Okay.
I can't
That's
tell
the
you, but
subjectivity that we
But
have a hard time with.
we have a proposal to make to you, and you don't want to hear it,
No,
apparently.
I'm willing, and you can talk, please speak to my architect who knows a lot more about this.
I understand what the proposal is.
And your client is not willing to accept
If
it?
my client wants me to investigate it, I will investigate it and try to make
Okay,
it work.
but, so your client doesn't want to investigate it, so
I
you
will investigate it if I don't have to come back again for another meeting. If you want to pass this provisionally, I will investigate in good faith. Bill, Mr. Kennedy.
But your architect has told us he can't design on the fly.
Right.
So I'm not sure that works.
No, that's-
What your requirement would work for your architect.
We've met all of your requirements here.
You have not, okay.
What requirement have we not met? And let's vote.
It's about scale and massing.
Okay?
Isn't that what it's about for everybody?
Yes.
Scale and massing.
And what I was mentioning, proposing, is not cutting down the square footage. It was just the massing, to reduce the massing, that's all.
And the relative roof lines, that was the other issue.
That's
was
the massing.
relative.
That is the massing, that is the massing.
Well.
Yes.
Yes, and
We
no.
have done
Just my opinion, what if you actually increase the square footage by putting a third L and stepping down again? In my opinion, that would go 1, 2, 3, and.
I'm afraid you'd run into 2040.
Well,
No, you wouldn't. I'm not talking
you,
huge.
sorry, Mr.
I'm not
Howard.
talking huge, I'm
Told
just
us-
talking one floor.
Your point at the last meeting was our house was too big for the property, so we reduced the size. And now you're asking
No,
us to
no,
increase the size.
no. You had massive walls going up 2 stories, and the north wall was one solid mass. Now you've stepped it down. I think it's very, very appropriate. I think you should go step down 1 more level. In my opinion, it would be terrace. It'd be perfect.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. One more time, thank you.
You know my thoughts.
It's really reasonable to show us plans at the meeting and ask us to vote on it. And not solicit any of our suggestions, because I've seen the plans. Yeah, he's setting himself up for a no vote.
And I was
I'd say,
yes.
with all of this stuff going on, just say,
When I heard the lawyers.
deny it and go on with another. It'll save.
If we can't even continue it on, I like the facade, I like the four windows. Top row.
We got there with 2040.
Why was that on the agenda first? It was what was in the mailbox. Helping out.
Actually, we should,
Open meeting law.
No,
we should wait till we've got a public forum.
I think he's gonna get it back to pizza and four drinks. He's gonna go see. He should just go see how to do it.
Yes. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm supposed to calm it down, but I'm not sure how.
Have you guys ever done a subcommittee to sit with them after?
We're not allowed to by the public. Not allowed to.
Answers that question.
Yeah.
For the hearing loss.
I just hate it when it's contentious.
I know.
But keep throwing me lines. It's not really good. It's not binary. Exactly. It's binary. If you reduce it by 1 foot, then you have to. That's like how. Which is necessarily vague. So you can interpret it one way or lawyer can.
So it's a judgment.
Hopefully, it's a
Ms. Peters.
educated and knowledge judgment, but it's not always, especially when it's coming at you. It doesn't feel like
Yeah, you can, what the application say?
The estate.
So too bad.
One is drift one and the
You saying
other is, I don't know, plant.
What?
Betty's saying you can't. As long as you're not a quorum. That's what I thought.
Yeah, we're poor.
That you can have a subgroup.
Actually, my
And it's
understanding is
looked
it can't be more than 3 people, like, okay,
Yeah,
so it
that's
just.
what we had talked about.
Okay.
I had to come back at least.
So it
6
might be a
times.
suggestion that you
Yeah, I
get
mean, what's the big deal with coming back
3 of
5
you
times?
to actually just
It's
sit down with them and not have anybody else there and just hash through things.
But then he'll claim that, well, these people said I could do it, and then.
As long as they understand it still has to go in front of the whole group, you know.
I don't think so, Jeff.
I know, that's why I didn't want to talk. I'm sorry. I'm just asking for clarification.
Okay,
Sorry.
got it. Now, how many weeks do we have till our next meeting? Oh, yeah, it's delayed because it's July.
Delayed
Good.
because of 4th of
Good.
July.
So
right?
we can do it. Okay, we could do it. Phew. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was the original plan.
Gee, I hope I don't get
No.
sick.
To be able to do this.
Yeah, we can do it.
It's funny.
That's
the date of that, let's see.
Yeah.
That would be July
10th, right?
10th, right?
Yes.
Because the
It's
week
the
after
10th.
4th of July.
Yes.
July 10th.
That's
So it's
4 weeks from now.
4 weeks.
Yes, that's fine.
That would work. If you get Kit to do another round. Yeah,
See what I mean?
I know, so close. So close.
Damn these wires.
These wires are terrible, always on division.
It does reduce the size of it, but
This is a nice rhythm here.
Do it, just, when you get this. But just making that.
it's just one more.
This is the one.
We, I would like to talk one-on-one. No.
So in response to the suggestion that Mr. Kendall made about lowering the roof, I've been through this design so many times, and in fact, I did investigate doing it somewhat like that, and found it very nearly impossible to make the plan work, with headroom and stair access and the usability of the space. So I could go back and try to make it work again, but I have pretty nearly zero hope of being able to do that.
Well, the stair is not in that extension. So I'm
Yes,
not
but you have to get from the stair into the extension. And that's where they.
No, but you're.
I'm not gonna, I don't want to argue the design. It's very difficult.
Okay.
It's nearly impossible. I tried every way
Okay,
from Sunday to make it work.
very good.
And this was my best solution.
Jeff?
And I can appreciate that, and you're probably right. That's why I was hesitating when I talked to you about it, but.
I think we would like to bring this to a vote. based
But
on
what I was gonna say is what I said and then repeated, was that it's not so much, I don't really think it's right for you as a group to suggest the design solution. It's not your job. Your job is to suggest what is not in the spirit of the community, of the historic district right here. And so what I'm getting from your request is that the additions seem too tall still, and then that should go to them saying, figure it out. You know, if it's too tall, I'm not, so that's what I'm trying to clarify. I know you want feedback so that you have.
No, I actually, I'm
Well,
not looking for
probably not
design
gonna want
advice.
it,
I'm not looking for design advice, but what I can assure you is, Kit, my Harvard-trained architect, just said it. We tried to lower the roof as much as possible. Okay? We've done that. If I could make it lower, I would. I don't care about the roof height. It's about the usability of the space inside. Okay? We absolutely tried to make it as low profile as possible.
So we would like to bring it to a vote.
Okay.
I'd be happy if you approve the plan as presented. If you vote against it, we would like to know specifically why you were voting against it.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Hello? I move we approve the plans as presented.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
All those opposed?
I'll approve.
You're approved. All three in favor? Four in favor. Okay, all those opposed? And that's all of us. All right, it's been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate the discussion.
I'm sure you'll love it when it's done. I have for both of these projects, I have
Oh, wait, before anybody goes, and does anything else, we need to appoint monitors.
I have three
Plans. Now, are they,
We should make sure that you get marked up on the 24.
I mean, we have to get.
Motion to adjourn.
no, we've got monitors, we need monitors. You're yes, no? Okay. You want to be a monitor?
Thank you.
Should I be a monitor?
Yes.
Okay, so we're the monitors. Now, you need our phone numbers, and Bob can give them to you. Okay?
Who's the monitor?
I am.
We are, and let me explain how that works. Kid's probably familiar, but notify us when work is about to begin. Any changes to the plans as approved have to come before us. If we think it's appropriate, it comes back to the committee. And notify us when the work is completed. Okay. Thank you.
day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
No, it's not fun stuff. But you've only had 4 meetings, I've had 40.
Well, you know what?
I don't have the rest with me.
Yes, I
Oh.
You and Bill?
Actually, you know what? You know what? I have your lists, just cut them up. Well,
2040, I have.
You got it. Yeah, okay, 'cause that's the one that you're going.
thanks.
Yeah, no,
Motion, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Wait, is there any more business we have to? Yeah.
I just, if I may, I'm gonna come back with a completely different proposal for Wynwood Way.
You're just a glutton for punishment.
Just like that.
And if you'd like to see it, I could show it to you briefly. I'm gonna put in an application
No.
for the July 12th meeting, I think it is.
10th.
10th.
That's fine,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I'll submit this in town hall as it needs to be done. But what I'm proposing
and the other one
is
is,
a
I don't
completely
know
separate, standalone building on the site. It will not be attached to the house. I'm just expressing it in very simple barn form.
Again, it's to the west, is that correct?
To the west, yes.
Yes.
Does
Does the elevation change?
I mentioned her that, or
it's slightly higher, the grade is slightly higher than the
Have you been by
house,
my house?
but
I
it's
haven't been.
75 feet away from the
Yeah.
house.
Well,
Oh, it's gonna, you're,
But because
It's not
they're
even
doing it,
between
I was.
the-
parked
you're
down
saying it's gonna be
the street.
75 feet
So I was
away?
going in
Yes.
my car. and she
Okay, bring it back.
stopped and introduced herself.
I will.
This is for the July 10th meeting to take it up? Okay, then if we get it in advance, then we can deal with all that. Carol and I are helping,
Signatures on this
I'm
before we
helping
leave
Carol with
tonight?
I
the
did,
clerk.
my question is,
Yes, perfect. Okay, great, thank you. Thank you very much.
We've approved these plans as drafted.
wonderful. I'm not signing.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Let's
second.
sign this. Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Here.
Okay,
I
we're
need to
adjourned.
sign pen.
Yeah, these.
Deborah, I need.
Here we go. All right, where is this?
Are we sure that it's 3 or 4 or what it
Did
is?
you know?
Yes, I
Simple
looked it up the
majority.
last time we did this, voting. 3B.
It's true, yes,
3B.
because that happened before.
4 affirmative votes shall always be required to approve a certificate of appropriateness, hardness, or non-applicability. If it's less than 4, the certificate is denied.
You're going to want to buy me a plane ticket to Hawaii next time.
Well, we'll have to call a special meeting.
We don't have time. We have to give 3 weeks, we have to have enough time to notify everybody. We don't-
Actually,
Oh, I
read
see
the
what you-
rules. This
The
meeting was
time
continued, and I think it says that all the parameters.
Can we review the tape and see the vote?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because we believe that the lady in did vote positive.
No,
I
she-
know I did not. I voted nay, no. It wasn't clear because
was
it went really
interpreted
quickly.
as a
But they
yes.
said yes, and I said no. I know how I voted.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
it was interpreted as a yes by the chair, which was our
Right,
mistake.
because I saw you raise your hand, I'm sorry.
Well, it's, that's-
She's sure she voted, she did not vote positive.
No, I think it's worth one more stab. I do. I felt a little bullied. I think you're close, you're really close, and you can do it one more time.
Yeah, but we can't do it, now it's been denied, they have to apply all over again.
Well,
There's no contaminants. It
Yes,
it's,
If we don't reach 4 votes,
can we
it's
just
deemed
have
denied.
them come back to us with another plan?
there was just a,
With no reason stated
You
why
want
it
to
was
do a
denied.
provisional yes?
What?
No reason stated why it was denied.
I mean, that could-
well, I think.
You don't need to state a reason, I mean, you just say it doesn't meet the it's not
Let's talk
appropriate.
about that offline.
Well, you didn't even say that.
Well, no, because three of us thought it was, but that's not sufficient.
If Bev allowed a
What if
provisional
we had
yes,
a
and they come back with another plan,
Further,
should we
an
want to do
additional
this?
vote
Yeah.
When?
with enough members here to get four.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But it means, now you have to reapply, unfortunately.
Just want to know, is it approved or not? If it's not approved, then I think we know what our path forward is.
Okay?
Is it not approved?
Not proven. I mean, we can't. Our rules are such we can't.
We had one idea, Rod,
So you
that
had
if
four when we
Bev,
started the meeting.
What? This is a quorum of the commission, but on a vote, it says in the bylaws, unless we have 4 votes, it's deemed denied.
Okay.
That's not my ruling.
So we had
Thank you.
three.
time out.
We had 3.
3 yes and 2 nay.
Bev would be willing to do provisional yes if they provide additional information about this roof line. Is that what your issue is?
Yes, I would like.
Did you hear what Bev
We
said?
could possibly say yes provisionally. and-
I could do a provisional yes if you come back with something that addresses what we discussed.
But you have to
tonight.
come out, I would go along with that too, but just simply dismiss us as it's all or nothing,
Right.
which is the way it was presented.
So we
You
could give
won't be able to
provisional
stand
yes.
up in that room. It just
yeah.
you can't, it doesn't work.
I'm.
It's a good architect.
We'll have to consult with our
It'd be
attorney.
better.
Very good.
So now we're going to have a lawsuit.
Okay, we're off the air now.